everybody. Welcome to the Nope. Wait. We have a first episode edit. As you can tell, Nikki and I I'm not in the same spot and we're not in the same clothes, but we have to edit our first episode. Over to you, Nikki. You break the news.
We had decided to name our podcast Full Stop, which you will hear we felt heartfelt conversation about in the first episode. And we really didn't want to take that part of the episode out, but we realized that there are other podcasts with the same name after we had already done the first episode. And after some research, decided that it would be the best to change the name of the podcast. So Lise, you want to talk about what we changed it to?
Yes. So welcome to Talk to Me Sis. Yes. I just think part of what we want, and through our discussions, Nikki, with what we want from this podcast is to just feel like a comfortable, intimate girl talk or friend talk. Because I joke around about talk to me, bro, but sis is being used in a very general term. Just we want this to be good conversations about topics that are interesting to people. Obviously, we come from the autism lens, so there will be a lot of discussion around autism and spectrum things, but we don't want to limit ourselves there, do we, Nikki?
Absolutely. We're really hoping that, we're going to kind of start the first several episodes talking about autism and what it's been in our lives and the other people in our lives who have been, very closely impacted and participated in the autism journey. But then we really hope to branch out and talk about a lot of other things because we're not just autism moms. Lise is a career woman. I'm a fitness nut. We both have families and really cool friends we'd like to talk to who have nothing to do with the autism journey. So we both like to talk and we both like to meet people. So we're hoping that there's going to be a lot of really good conversation.
Absolutely. So the Full Stop podcast will stay where it is in the podcast world, but not with Nikki and Lise. And we will be here for all of the fun chats with Talk to Me Sis. And we hope that you'll join us and enjoy them, just like we're going to enjoy putting them together for you.
Absolutely. We're so excited. And we hope if you guys have things you want to hear about, let us know.
Definitely. We're going to have social media. We're going to have an email. You guys can get in touch with us and talk to us, sis. Tell us what you want to know and what we want to talk about. We're here.
Absolutely.
Excellent. So with that, I'm going to say, love you, mean it.
Love you, mean it. Enjoy the first episode.
Okay. Welcome, podcast world. Nikki, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling so excited. I can't believe we're actually doing this. This is amazing. I'm so excited.
I would lie if I said I wasn't a nervous wreck right now. That's why I checked in. Anyway, welcome everybody to episode 1 of the Full Stop podcast. It's official.
Yay.
I feel like we need some trumpets or horns. Anyway, so you may know myself and Nikki Smith, and I'm Lise Smith, and oddly enough, no relation. We are both moms of some pretty wonderful gentlemen that you may know from Netflix, Love on the Spectrum Season 2. I am Connor Tomlinson's mom, and
I am Tanner Smith's mom.
Yes. And so you may know us a little bit from there. I know some of you may recognize me from Car Rides with Connor. It's a fun little YouTube channel that Connor and I have put together. And then obviously our social medias. But this is sort of an exciting adventure that Nikki and I feel like Thelma and Louise, Nikki. I actually feel like Thelma and Louise. And I feel
Absolutely.
like we're holding hands in the convertible and we're about to drive off the cliff together.
We're just going. We're just doing it.
Pedal to the metal, and we are jumping off because I feel like we have been thrust into the spotlight slightly, just in the shadows of our wonderful gentlemen, young men that you know. And as a result, that I was unexpected to me was being sort of sought out by other parents with children on the spectrum, new moms, newly diagnosed families, and other parents with adult children. So just kind of being thrust into this platform unexpectedly. But I think here we both are, Nikki. And so we thought, let's do something a little more official.
Absolutely. And it's always been something I've loved. I'm an avid podcast consumer. And since these opportunities with Tanner have come up and I've had the opportunity, and he has too, to be guests on podcasts, I've always loved people. I love to get their stories. I love to get into their brain. I love to see what makes people tick. And I love to learn from each other and to grow with each other. And I've just always been fascinated by hearing what people have gone through and how it has changed their lives. And to have this opportunity, especially with a woman who came into my life that I never expected to make such a good friend so quickly. And Lise and I have just bonded and clicked so well. And as we've gotten to know each other, realized how much we have in common. And we were like, what a great way to share the things that we've learned and we've been through. And hopefully we can bless some other people. And hopefully we're going to learn a lot through this experience too.
Absolutely. We're really excited about the whole possibility and prospect of this new adventure. And you know what's really cool is we haven't really looked to define it too deeply. So I hope you guys are excited about coming on along the journey, getting in this convertible with us and driving off the cliff with us and just seeing where we all end up together and where we land. Absolutely. And honestly, one of the things, Nikki, I'm excited about is to sort of, hopefully with the help of y'all as listeners and subscribers and followers to the podcast, you know, get feedback. What do you guys want to know?
Absolutely.
What do you want
That's
to hear?
so exciting to me.
What can we do to help contribute to you too? What's interesting to you, not just us? You know, we want to be,
Absolutely.
Nikki, you said it. You said it best and I'll let you finish it. Really big sister chat room.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've had one of the most touching things of this whole experience has been the messages and inboxes and DMs and texts and calls I've gotten from other spectrum moms and other disabilities. And just hearing how women are out there longing for companionship and even just for a listening ear. And if we can even just be that, just a sounding board, if hearing Connor's story and Tanner's story and what led up to them being who they are at 25 is an encouragement to someone else, or maybe it will just be that little spark. You might hear something Lisa or I say that we did during our journey that just sparks you to say, oh my gosh, that might work for my child, or maybe I should go down that road. If we do that for one person, the whole thing is worth it.
It's a win.
And
it's a win.
Absolutely. That's, I know Lise feels that way and I do too. That's really, we just want to be that source of light that I think both of us felt like we really didn't have a lot of in our early diagnosis years. And I mean, I think we also want to branch it out, right, Lise? We want to take it out a little further than just us and just the boys. We want to get the dad stories. We want to get the sibling stories. Mm-hmm. And then as we go forward, I would love to take it further than just always talking about just within the scope of our autism life. There's so many wonderful stories to tell just in my group of friends. And I feel like you probably have some too.
And you know what, Nikki, you and I were individuals and women before
Yes.
our husbands and our children. And
Yes,
so
we
it just
were.
might be fun just to see kind of where Nikki and Lise and our experiences that, you know, prepared us in our journey, and maybe just, and again, also what's interesting to you all as the listeners. A couple things I do want to address is we kind of have a weird name to the podcast. Full stop. And it actually is a little bit of an inside joke with my family, and Nikki quickly became a part of it as well. I'm a notorious voice texter. And I think that you will quickly learn, and if you did watch Love on the Spectrum, Connor has an affinity for all things British. He loves England. He loves English history. He dives into a British accent several times a day. His father is actually English, and I was married to an Englishman for 11 years. So I do have some of the words that they use in England, and actually full stop is how they end their sentences, their complete thoughts. And so when I voice text, I don't know if it's just residual from my first marriage, I say full stop. And my phone inserts period. So it's always been a joke. Everyone makes fun of me because it's not really an American thing to say, but everyone says full stop, full stop. So just a little bit of the why. And then Nikki thought it was cute too, and I'm glad you're excited.
I love it. And I also like when I heard you say it as a potential name for the podcast, I love it that it's like a personal anecdote for you and that it's just a funny little thing in your family. But I also thought, like, thinking of it almost bigger, like full stop. Like the world goes so fast and we're always running and we're always doing and our schedules are insane. but let's just like really sit down and just stop fully for a minute and talk to some people and share our real stories and get down to the meat of who we are and what makes us tick and the things that we've been through and how it can help other people. So for me, I feel like the name is even a little bit bigger, like let's fully stop and really help each other and listen to each other.
That.
I love it.
Be present. I love that.
Yes. Absolutely.
See,
absolutely.
This is the magic that, thank you Netflix and
Yes.
Keanu Cleary for picking our family, because honestly, this wonderful family, the Smiths, from South Carolina, would not be in my life. And
100%.
it actually gives me chills. I have chills right now, actually, about just how quickly, a year ago today, I didn't know Nikki Smith.
It's
wouldn't
so
have been able
crazy.
to pick her out of a lineup. That show dropped January 19th. And, it's so it hasn't even been a full year. And
I can't believe it.
truly feel like you're a sister from another mother. So it's,
Absolutely.
I hope
some things are just meant to be.
I
I feel like some things are just meant to be, and definitely this friendship was one of them, because I've already just gotten so much inspiration and hope and support and laughter and fun from you, and your kids feel like nieces and nephews to me. I love them. It was such a quick, natural bond. And it's just one of those, and I don't think anything happens by accident. I think we were teamed up for a reason, and I really hope that is to be a light of just hope and information, and maybe a little bit of fun, and just make people laugh a little bit too, because I think we're both pretty good at laughing through the hard times.
Absolutely. Honestly, I had to laugh, or else I find myself crying quite a bit in my journey with my family. So at the end of the day, just to kind of put a bow on why we're doing this and why we are here tonight and why we're kicking this off is, again, just we found ourselves in this place with this platform and thought, well, let's use it for good, and let's have some fun with it. Let's have fun, but let's tell stories of hope and inspiration. And we were talking about stories of triumph and and some tragedies, because let's face it, life is not all hearts and flowers. And we want to hear from you guys as well. Like, again, this is a blank page, and we're ready to write on it and end our sentences with a full stop. But we are really excited and open. So we hope that you enjoy being on this ride with us. Like I said, we're riding off the cliff, but I think it looks pretty cool so far.
Looks pretty good.
But anyway, so that's kind of a little bit about how we got here and what this is. So
why we're doing this.
Why we're doing this. But Nikki, I don't know, I was kind of thinking what might be cool too is to talk a little bit about you before Mark and Tanner and Taylor and all your wonderful kids, Maverick and Midge, and also talk about me too before all this and craziness.
Absolutely. Well, this was the last thing I ever expected to be doing in 2024 was a podcast, because my young adult son with special needs had been on a Netflix show. It's still kind of blowing my mind that this is where I am. But I grew up in Illinois. I have 3 sisters. I grew up in a very small town, very traditional, small town upbringing. I lived there till I was 18. Always kind of had a wandering bug and an adventurous spirit. I think my mom and dad would say that I had a rebellious spirit, but I prefer to call it adventurous. So I decided after high school that I needed to see something different, and I moved to South Carolina. And I came here because it was warmer, and I was tired of gray, cold Illinois winters, and I had a sister here. So I knew there was a safety net if things didn't go well. And then after I had been here a year or two, my husband, Mark, who is a native South Carolinian, and I started to date, and it went very well. We started to date and we never stopped. So then Mark is a pharmacist by degree, and he does work in pharmacy, but he is also a 3rd generation farmer. We live literally right in the middle of a field, and the farm is cotton, cucumbers, and peanuts, and it's my nephews, my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, and my husband, and potentially maybe one day our younger son, Maverick. We have got 3 other children besides Tanner. Taylor is our oldest daughter. She runs a dance studio and is about to get married in November. Madeline, who everyone knows as Midge from the show and from social media, is 23, and she is a 1st grade teacher in Anderson, South Carolina, and working hard to establish herself as a teacher. And Maverick, our youngest son, is a senior in high school, and he is in the middle of football season. So Mark and I have been married for 31 years. We have built a really big ship together. Mark has been a rock. Can't really say enough about what a great husband he's been through this entire journey, particularly the special needs journey. One thing I'm really excited about that Lisa and I talked about is having the dads on. I don't think that's a perspective that I don't think I've heard it much at all, is hearing many dads talking about what it was like for them in the provider role, in this maybe the supportive role. Not saying that, you know, any family should do it any certain way, but I know for us, I sort of took autism as by the reins and said, I'm running this ship. You provide, I will research, I will drive the boat, I will go out and find everything and get everything in place. And that was what worked for us. So I think it would just be really helpful to other young families for the dads to talk a little bit about what it has been like from their perspective. But so that's one thing I'm very excited about. Like I said, Mark is a very supportive partner. I'm very proud of him. Very, very thankful for him. I have a nursing degree. I did not work in nursing for a really long time. Tanner was diagnosed when he was 4, and I had only been working at that time for about 5 years. So after his diagnosis,
Tanner's your second born, right?
Yes,
Taylor's first.
Tanner,
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, Taylor, that's right. And
so you had a toddler and Tanner. Right?
Yes, a toddler and Tanner. And after his diagnosis, we quickly figured out that the way our life was set up, it was better for me to be home full time and run his therapy program, which we'll get in more about the specifics of what we did for therapy later. But I was a stay-at-home mom for a lot of years, but my side hustle, I guess you call it, which really a hobby, a passion, and a little bit of it was a part-time job, is fitness. I love anything in the fitness realm. That's kind of what I'm known for outside of being a mom.
Girl,
that's always been.
You look good.
Well, you are sweet.
I don't think I
Thank
ever
you.
looked that good even when I was 18.
You're being very kind. Thank you.
No, I'm being
Thank
truthful.
you so much.
Ladies, you can bounce quarters off this lady.
No. Well, but I do love it. It's been kind of, it was like my solace. It was my identity away from just being mom and wife, and really, to be honest, my identity away from being special needs mom, because there's definitely long periods of time where you feel like that's all you are, is a special needs mom. At least that was the truth for me. And fitness was really my thing that helped me kind of forge an identity. I didn't have a full-time career outside the home, and I just have sort of upped the ante over the years. I've always taught classes. I've gotten involved in lots of different things, but that's the thing that I love. That's the thing that I do for myself. That's the thing that I do with other women, with other adults when I'm outside of my mom and wife role. I love girl time. I love to read. I love outside. I love the water. I love the sun. I grew up in a very cold, more gray part of the country, and I love being from the South. I would not trade where I live for anything. Love South Carolina. Very loyal. I've been here since I've been 18. Love the people. Love the location. But yeah, and it has been good to us. We live in a very small rural community, but the people here are solid and wonderful, and they have embraced Tanner with open arms, and we have just had the most incredible support from friends and family in the area, and we are so grateful for it. But that's kind of a little bit of background. Lise, what's your story?
Oh gosh. Well, Nikki, that was amazing. Thanks for sharing all of that. And I have not yet met your other half, or your younger
That'll
son,
be soon.
I have met 3 of 4 of the Smith children, and amazing, absolutely, just such wonderful
ditto
kids.
to yours.
So thank you, and it's great. So Lise, let's see. I grew up in southern New England. And I say southern New England because it was a menagerie of being born in Boston and living in Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. And that is where I lived for like the first 22 years of my life. My parents I was raised cradle Catholic, in church every Sunday. And I was raised, and I'll just be really honest right at the jump, in an alcoholic home. My father had an alcohol problem, and in the early 80s, my dad stopped drinking. So in 1981 or 82, my dad stopped drinking. So I was 9 or 10. But, the first, so many years of my life were a little tumultuous, I would say. And we moved around quite a bit as a result. My dad had trouble holding jobs. And then my dad stopped drinking, got sober, and we went onto this really successful time, like the golden years, I guess, of my childhood. And my parents were doing very well. Still a little bit, lived in a little bit of a roller coaster of a home with my parents' marriage. And then in the early 90s, being raised in a house with lots of ups and downs. And I have an older brother who actually is physically handicapped and special needs. He, I guess, would be neurotypical. He does hold down a job. He's married, but he was born, actually, he looks quite much like a thalidomide baby. And is a drug in the 60s that were given to women for morning sickness. And by the time my mom was pregnant with my brother, it was actually banned in the US. But my mother was in Long Beach, California. My dad was in the Navy, and my mom was given some unmarked medication to take for my brother for her morning sickness. And my brother was born looks exactly like a thalidomide baby. So I kind of grew up with this special needs older brother.
I did not know that.
Yeah, wow, learning
I
new
did
things
not
about
know
me
that.
today.
Yeah.
So my older brother, and then I was born. And then I have a younger sister. As a result of my brother's situation, my parents were always, I think that put a lot of stress on my parents' marriage, contributed to my dad's situation. And my parents were gone quite a bit to Boston Children's Hospital or all these special hospitals. He had scoliosis, he had surgeries, he had things, which left me quite a bit alone with family members, neighbors, and my sister and I were shuffled around. And I quickly became like a protector, my little sister's keeper. I had to be really strong, really young. I actually look back and I really feel like I never had a childhood very much because of my parents just needed me to step up and be tough. And it cuts both ways. I think I am very tough, but sometimes I think I've rubbed people the wrong way. But I had to start off really young, kind of being tough and being able to handle a lot. In my early college years, my father left our family. He ended up leaving with a family friend, and that was quite devastating to all of us. My mother and all of us, so kind of a little bit of a trauma in my early 20s there. And I think it kind of teed me up, to wanting to get out of Dodge, just to be honest. And so I was in college and I was having fun. I ended up at a wedding in Albany, New York, of all places. And this charming British man was there. He is the cousin of the groom, and he actually didn't have a ride because he had flown in from London, and I was just there as a friend of one of the groomsmen, and I was asked to give this charming British cousin a ride to the wedding, and I guess the rest was history there because I ended up marrying him and having 4 children. He actually moved, we did the whole fiance visa, song and dance. I had to apply. We had to go for interviews. He moved to moved here with nothing but 2 duffel bags, and it was him and me, 2 duffel bags, and we were living with my mom. He quickly got a job out in Boston, and we actually really grabbed the American dream. His name is Simon. That's Connor's dad. And Simon and I ended up moving all around the country, kind of in the Southeast with his job. We did Boston, we did Miami, we lived in Houston, then back to Boston. And during this time, really anxious to start a family because I always, through college, through everything, I was always had this huge affinity for children and animals. And I think because I had such a rough kind of coming up, and my parents are wonderful people. I don't want to send that out there. They are good people. My mother's an angel. She's my best friend. I love her to bits and pieces. So my parents are great, but I think I just I prefer children and animals to adults. And so I could not wait to be a mom. I was a nanny. I was doing all the things. Couldn't wait to be a mom. Simon and I got married quickly and just like a hot pepper sprout, like they say, and could not wait to be a parent. And I started to have fertility problems. So here again, just challenged again in my life with, oh yeah, you want a baby? Yeah. Miscarriage. Well, by the fourth miscarriage, the doctor's like, you have to stop, so we had some fertility issues. So that put a strain on our marriage. We got through it, and then we were blessed with this beautiful little boy, Connor. So Connor is my firstborn. At the time Connor was born, I graduated college with a psychology degree, and ironically went right into teaching children with autism. I started working at the New England Center for Autism in Metro Boston, and enjoyed it. Early intervention classroom, so the newly diagnosed parents, the children who, and I was actually in the classroom where the children were nonverbal, really had no communication form, so really starting at ground zero, a lot of behaviors, hair pulling, scratching, biting, that kind of stuff. A pretty intensive preschool room is what I was doing. We then got transferred to Miami. In the background, we were doing the having a baby thing. Got to Miami, I started doing home-based therapy because there was no set school there. Working with families, I got plugged into the community there, and I just started driving around and doing home-based therapy. We did fertility in Miami, and we had the luck we were having Connor. So Connor was born in Miami, and then that is when we decided that I would just be a stay-at-home mom. I mean, we had tried so hard to have him, and Simon and I both felt like he's like, you be a stay-at-home mom, I've got you. We're gonna raise these kids. So then we moved to Texas, and unfortunately, had to go through fertility treatment there. Not unfortunately, got Anna and Ben, so I had twins as a result of that. By the time they were born, though, we were back in Boston. So the kids were born up there in the north, and so I had these three beautiful children. 2 little boys and a girl, and I said, check that box. I got my family. I'm happy. Metro Boston. My husband's successful. We really grabbed the American dream because our parents weren't really able to do anything for us. Living a great life, and then we decided to transfer to Atlanta, Georgia, because my sister, who I was very close to, was moving here with her soon-to-be husband, and my sister and I always wanted to raise our kids together. She was just engaged, but we had plans. So that's how I landed in Metro Atlanta. And I ended up, surprisingly so, getting pregnant without any assistance. And it was the grace of God. And I have a 4th child that we did not plan for. So it also goes to show that
Jack, sweet, cute Jack.
Sweet Jack. We are not driving the bus at all. God is in charge.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely not.
I thought my childhood story was over. I had these three children. I felt very lucky. And we ended up having Jack. What I failed to mention is in all of these little moments and moves and all these things, Connor's starting to develop, and obviously I had the background with the autistic children. I started to notice quite quickly by Connor's 18 months, 15 to 18 months, I started to see things, but I did think I was being a bit dramatic. By Connor's 2nd birthday, I was absolutely convinced that he was on the spectrum. By some of his behaviors, and we can get into that deeper later. And again, I started to try to get help in diagnosis. No professionals were recognizing it because he was speaking. And then, again, strain on my marriage again. So then we move, get to Atlanta, and in 2007, my husband of 11 years walked in and told me he was leaving. And found out he was leaving for a coworker. So again, another big trauma in my, early mid 30s, whatever. And, but what did I have to do? It's like when I was a kid and when my parents and all these things is I just pedaled my bike. And I had these 4 little children. I hadn't worked in years. And I had a husband who was leaving, and Lise had to pick herself up by her bootstraps and put her big girl pants on and figure out what the next step was. And
Wow.
I went out into the workforce, and then I was a single mom for 5 years with 4 very small children and 1 newly diagnosed with autism. I don't know how I did it. I have an amazing family. My mother, my sister, incredible support. My dad is up in Portland, Maine, really a loving family, even though we've had our issues. Super support, great brother, supportive, brother-in-law, amazing. So you get through it because you have to. You don't have a choice. Right. And I got through it. And in September, in 2012, I'm dating. I'm on the dating apps because I live in Metro Atlanta in a suburb, and I'm around all married people all the time. And I'm, not going to go sit in a bar with some perfume on. So on an app, I meet my what I didn't know husband, Tony, and I met this wonderful man. And I told him, run for your life. If I were
quick,
you, I would
run.
Yeah. Quick, let me tie your Nikes for you. And he didn't. He stuck it out. He had actually never met anyone with autism before.
Wow.
He met me. And then I actually have a lot of friends with kids on the spectrum. I think we all find each other. And he was like, wait, you also have this person has, everyone in your life seems to, someone with autism. But anyway, Tony jumped in the circus tent with me in 2012, and so far he's still here. So
Go Tony!
Go Tony! He actually did tell me tonight before we kicked off. He goes, "Give me a shout out."
Oh,
there it is, babe.
I love it.
But yeah, that's my story, Nikki. So it's
amazing.
Wild spin.
One of the strongest women I know. That's a story.
Well, I appreciate that, but I feel the same to you. And what I actually think is the unsung hero here is marriages that stick it out, like Mark and Nikki.
Wow.
And 30 years
I'll
strong,
tell you,
and I'm in bewildered awe of that. So
we still look at each other and are like, wow, how'd we do that? Like you said, when you're in it, you just do it. There were so many years I just felt like we're on automatic pilot. It was just do the next thing, do the next thing, do the next thing. I had no guarantees, no answers. And I was completely unsure of myself. I literally just knew I'm his mother. No one is ever going to drive this boat with as much care and compassion and hope for its outcome as I will. And I knew that it had to be me. And I hope, that's somewhere that other moms will feel from us, that we understand that feeling. Because I don't even really know, I don't feel like I really put it into words very well, but that is a crushing weight that I feel like autism moms bear on their shoulders. And I can't imagine having tackled it alone.
No, yeah, it's I guess in the cold dark night there were nights I was alone or felt very alone. Obviously, with the way my marriage ended, it wasn't. It was very. What's the word I want? Very. There's a lot of animosity. So there was the co-parenting piece was. It was very, very hard. I was very upset and very angry. I'm sure, I wasn't, so the co-parenting wasn't there, but I would be lying if I sat here and said I was totally alone. I had an awesome sister, awesome mother. My mother moved down here and they were jumping right in wherever they could to help. You find your people, right? You find your friends that are like sisters, and I have them and I know who they are, and so I wasn't totally alone, but I guess there are moments, but so that's kind of, it's interesting to see. And I was, same thing, cold, northeastern gray,
when it becomes
south, rainy, snowy weather, and I get down south, never moving back north. No
Never.
offense to my fellow Yankees, I love you, but
I love you Midwesterners, but I can't hack it. Yeah.
My blood's thinned. But anyway, so that's kind of cool. And now here we are. We've evolved into these women with these incredible boys.
Yes. And it's been so amazing watching as the years have unfolded and as time has gone by, looking at the chain of events, and I hope we can go through them in detail in later episodes of how we got here and how the groundwork was laid for us to be prepared for a time such as this. But if I can throw out like a word of encouragement, everything that everyone is seeing from us and from Tanner and Connor and the way we are, our rapport, that we're relaxed, we're laughing, it was 20 years. Literally 20 years that were harder. I did not feel like this 10 years ago. I didn't feel like this 12 years ago. I didn't feel like this 15 years ago. And Tanner was not functioning where he is, it's been pretty recent, honestly, that he has been at the level he is at now. So I say that as a word of encouragement to any young mom that's out there. It is a marathon. It is a long, long road, but you can do it. And all those little day-to-day things that oftentimes you feel like, why am I doing this? Is it actually making a difference? Am I actually contributing to a better outcome? You are. Those little day-to-days, they really do add up over the years. You'll look back and be like, wow, all that speech therapy, all that OT, all those conferences with teachers, all that extra schooling I did at home, whatever your story is, it's all going to be worth it.
It is. And to reach their potential, because I think what's interesting and what I kind of have, it was one of our notes to talk about, Nikki, is that just look at our two boys. We've got two boys who present very differently.
Very differently.
And Connor, we had some very tough years with Connor as well. Yes. Sensory issues galore. I mean,
oh my goodness.
Things that, we just didn't even know and couldn't really manage it. Dysregulation, transitioning. And we did choose to use medications in pockets and times of his life because we were, we're having struggles. And then,
right.
I was also saying there were times for me as a single mom, and I had 3 little ones underneath him that needed me. There were times where I had to forego a service or something that I thought could help just because I couldn't do it.
You can't do it all. And you know what? And that's okay. We experience the same thing. We both have 4 children. It can't always be about your special needs child. They can't always have first place in line with who's getting, the most attention or the bulk of your time or the bulk of your attention. And that's okay too. It really is okay. And it does all work out and they do get there. So if you have those days, younger moms, where you feel like, I'm spread too thin, I'm not giving he or she whatever they need, you are. Just love them. Just love them and just keep going. And sometimes I felt like putting the siblings first was the best thing for Tanner. That taught him a lot of life lessons too. Teaches them a lot about socialization, about turn taking, about looking out for other people. That's the blessing of the big family. And the built-in playmates and what they learn and what they absorb from the sibs. Mm-hmm. It all works out. It really does. I love Lise just...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I was going to say with us too, for me, Connor was my oldest. So what became... we did get him diagnosed, but it was really interesting when my twins were starting to surpass him in a lot of social, emotional, and other. That was really hard for me. And I know Tanner's number 2 for you, so I'm sure you saw that.
I saw that with the younger, yes. And to this day, even things like Maverick is 7 years younger than Tanner, and obviously Maverick drives and Tanner does not. And I can see sometimes like the look on Tanner's face, like a little bit of like, when he goes and jumps in Maverick's truck. He doesn't really question it, but it's definitely a thing. It is. It's a hurdle we've had to jump, and it's an emotional adjustment. It's something you have to accept. It's something you have to get okay with. But I think when you finally get to that place where you realize that your child's diagnosis, whether it's autism or whatever it is exactly who they were supposed to be, and that is how they're going to impact the world because of the difference. And having the difference is what gives them their unique beauty and their unique ability to impact others around them, and what they're pouring into other people's lives, even if they have no idea they're doing it, just by being themselves, is what God sent them here for.
It's a gift. And I know
it is a gift.
Connor, this story sticks out for me, and you made me remember before Connor was diagnosed, but I was starting to have feelings about it. And you may have heard me say this story, Nikki, but where Connor was going to bed, and it was bedtime story, and I always read to the kids before they went to bed, and Connor was in his bed. And sorry, I have a dog. If he's barking and you can hear it, I apologize. So Connor was in bed, and I actually was pregnant with a twin, so I was kind of big. And I remember saying, hey, make some space for me. And Connor just looked at me and he goes, only if you make earth for me. And in the
Wow.
moment, I had no idea he was on the spectrum.
Right.
I just thought, I have
Wow.
a brilliant little boy on my hands.
Yeah.
I mean, he was so little. But he said, but the point of that story is the lens. Connor puts a lens on our family that we have
Yes.
never, we get to see the world through Connor's. And that is why part of like, with our YouTube stuff is I was wanting to share him a little bit more with the world, because I would go to work every day and tell my coworkers Connor stories. And
Yes, I love
things
that.
he would say or see, or how he processes the world and then gives it back to
Oh,
us.
yeah.
And it's my boss, Bonnie, was like, you need to write this stuff down. And if you know me, I'm not going to read a book, and I'm not going to write a book, because I have ADD and I'm not doing it. So,
But
I
we'll
was like,
video
well,
it, yeah.
I'll video it, and I'll put it, and
Yeah.
you know, so, but part of it really was just to see, and it typically happens when I drive him to work, is we get these little golden nuggets. And it's like, sometimes my husband
love it.
Tony, when he first started dating me, he would drive him to work or school. He'd call me, honey, do you know dragon eggs explode when they hatch? And he's like,
Ding, 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 Connor fact, Connor fact.
it's just that. So I think, like you said, I think that your child in your life, whatever mom and dad out there, whatever you're dealing with, and at the time, I think is just, they're brought here as a wonderful gift. How lucky are we? And
Yes.
the lens that they're going to give you through the world, you're going to get to see the world
Yes.
through this beautiful lens that, I don't get to enjoy. And I do now
Right.
because of Connor. And I think of this too, when Connor was diagnosed. It was a little bit later. It was 5 years old, and I knew it too. So I felt like I had burned 3 years of daylight intervention working with him, and I was really mad at myself and mad in general. And I was feeling sorry for myself, and I remember saying, why? I dedicated my career, like my early career was autistic children and families. Why would God do this to me? And that's a really raw, real feeling. And it may not be a popular thing to say, and it's not meant to be offensive. It was the pure feeling I was having.
I had it
Why
too.
would this
You're not
happen
alone.
to me? Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like my friend who I was lamenting to just looked at me and said, who better? Who better?
Wow.
You have been being groomed and prepared to be his mother. Who better to be his mother than you?
Wow.
And as soon as somebody said that to me, it's like that splash of cold water, that slap around the face, like, get a hold of yourself, woman. And then once that almost empowered me to be like, yeah, okay, I guess I'm on this team now.
Yeah.
It was weird. I call them
I
like
love
the
that.
God moments, the God winks, where in my life I can actually almost feel the tap on my shoulder, like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm right here, and this person's going to tell you what I need you to hear.
And there's a reason for all of it. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's I feel like the special needs experience really, truly, I mean, not to at all downplay parenting typical children, because I'm not for one moment saying that's easy. That's not easy either.
Oh, God.
But when you up, yeah, not at all. But when you up the ante and throw in special needs, and you have to dive into a world and educate yourself about something that you have no reason. Why would you know about autism unless you need to, unless you work in the field or until you have a child on it? And it really brings so sharply into focus what parenting really is, because I don't think I realized for a long time, and I want to say this carefully because I'm sure some things will get misinterpreted. I hope this doesn't. You don't realize how much of your kids you're making about yourself. And that was a real God wink, also sort of like a boom in the head moment for me when I realized this isn't about me at all. He's not me. I am not him. It is shaping this person that God sent to me to shepherd and guide and love and provide for and prepare him for the world. That's what parenting really is. And a lot of the things that I was struggling with on such a deep level, they were all rooted in what Nikki wanted, what Nikki was sad about, what Nikki had hurt feelings about, what I was going to lose, what I wasn't going to get to see or do.
The little
or have
boy
or
you
whatever.
thought he was going to
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it took me so many years. And I think when I said that on the show about, like always fighting it and reaching for something more, That's really what I meant. It was never on the surface, never towards Tanner. It was my own internal battle and basically like awakening and self-awareness that, Nikki, this is not about you. God just gave you, he not only gave you the gift of a son, he gave you like a bigger responsibility with a much higher calling, because it's going to be harder, and because you're going to have to work harder, and you're going to have to be more sacrificial, and you're going to have to let go of a lot of your own selfish desires and genuinely love somebody unconditionally, because they cannot give back to you what would make life easier. I hope that might have been a really
No, that
complicated
was
way to
so
say
well
it.
said. That was so well said, Nikki. And I
But
think
that was
it's like,
so, it was hard. It was so hard.
well, I know I heard more than one time in my journey, God gives, his toughest battles to, he puts his toughest soldiers in with the most
Right.
battles or something. I'm like, he must think I'm one tough ass.
Bad.
I don't think I'm this tough, Lord.
Absolutely. Oh, I really didn't think I was that tough. And anybody that knew me well during the hard years knew I wasn't feeling very tough.
No, but that's I think what we really has spurred our, lit the fire for us with this is the messages that y'all have sent into my DMs and my Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
And I know, Nikki, you've gotten them too. It's these younger parents or, hey, I feel like I see a lot of my son in Connor and can
Yes.
we are here to say we're here with you. We're wearing the t-shirt with you.
Yes.
And there were many years of struggle, strain, and not a lot of hope. And I didn't this Love on the Spectrum show, there were really no shows on this inclusion that's happening now with all sorts of people with all sorts of disabilities, and it's just amazing to see what a wonderful platform they're starting to have. They're being represented properly, and it's so nice. I didn't have this show. I didn't have a Love on the Spectrum to see a 25-year-old. What could it look like for Connor? Could I even consider love for Connor? And so I am just so grateful that we were picked and that you guys can look to our boys and see yes it's
out there. And I think, Lise, this would be a great time to add in, and we talked about this as a bullet point before, neither Lise nor myself claims to be any kind of autism educator. We are not autism experts. We are not professors. We are not doctors. We are not nurses. We are none of those things. Absolutely. She's a Connor expert. I'm a Tanner expert. I can tell you about Tanner Smith's autism journey and how our family handled it, and she can tell you about Connor Tomlinson's. But we don't want anything we say to be taken as that we are saying this is what you should do, or that we are, necessarily endorsing any type therapy.
Yeah, proponents, like we're putting ourselves
Absolutely.
out there.
We want to learn too.
And we're actually excited to bring on, in future episodes, seek out
younger moms, that are more current.
Younger moms that are more current, and some professionals that can also, shed some light. And the other thing for me is to just say, I did have the background, but that was a million years ago. I mean, we're going back to 96, 97. I'm not relevant at all in the field. I sell granite countertops. That's what I do.
Right. And
so
I teach fitness classes.
Granite and quartz, I'll tell you all about it. But in terms of this, I think we do want to reiterate that we are just Connor and Tanner experts. But listen, we're here to be as open, vulnerable, authentic, and share our journeys in a raw way. And and also I will say, if you are sensitive and if you are, we're just real women, and sometimes we're going to just say it like it is. And I am a very plain speaker.
So am I. There might be a curse word here and there.
Yeah, maybe.
Not a lot, but maybe.
I am from Boston.
And I'm just very passionate, so you never know.
But I mean, everything is just, it's real. And I think we want the authenticity. We want you guys to feel the authenticity. It's just going to be real conversations. And I'm already just so excited. I am so nervous. And I can't believe how I feel like flowy.
Easy it is, yes. And really, like we said, we're not experts as far as therapies or what doctor you should call or, what type of therapy you should pursue for your child. But I do feel like, we're in our early 50s. We've lived a while. We both have 4 kids. We might know a little bit more about parenting than moms in their 20s or 30s, and we might have some helpful tips. I do feel like we can claim to be able to give some advice there. I can definitely tell you what I did that didn't work. I can definitely tell you what I would go back and not worry about. I can definitely tell people where I would have been kinder to myself and those types of things. I hope that we can share that kind of information and that it's very helpful and reassuring, really. I just want people to feel more ease in their journey because of us. That's really,
Peace,
that would make me
grace.
so happy.
Yes.
Yes.
Just be more peaceful, more graceful.
Yes.
And I know the fear drove a lot of what I did.
Yes. So much fear. So much
and
fear.
I wish that I had reined a little bit of that in.
Yes.
And I just know, part of some of the blessings, did have some amazing professionals in our journey that
Me too.
were there along the way. So that helped. But I do know I ran on fear a lot. And,
Me too. Me too.
And I guess I wish I would say, I wish I ran a little more on faith instead of.
Me too. That was beautifully said, and I agree 100%. That's a tall order when you're in it. When you get the news in those first few years, I know it seems probably impossible, but I wish somebody had said that to me. Somebody had said, just take a deep breath. It is going to be okay, and you will get there. You will. And I really didn't hear that a lot. I felt a tremendous weight on my shoulders. And if we can be that for somebody else, worth every minute.
Absolutely. And I remember feeling too, because I had a fertility struggle to even have kids. So I kind of also felt a little mad with that peppered in with my situation. Particularly, I was like, okay, not only did I have to really go through a lot of loss to become a mom, I'm now a mom, and now I've got this. Like, that just doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem fair. I felt like there was just some injustice of something. And I remember thinking as a young mom, the credits rolled on my love story with me and my husband pushing the baby Connor into the sunset with a stroller. Like, so that's not even realistic. I mean, they obviously all grow up to be teenagers, even if they're neurotypical.
Right.
I lived in some sort of little fantasy world for a while.
Yes,
and
I did too.
I think I so wanted the happy ending because of, I think, what I saw my family go through, which I touched on very little, but I think you saw my ride, and I think I felt like I so deserved it and I wanted it. But God wasn't done firing me as a rock. So so I guess I have, and I'm not saying it's a done deal anyway now, but it's
right.
I do feel that exhale a little bit, and I do feel so much hope and excitement.
Yes, and so much more peace. So much more peace. And I think one of the beautiful things of having multiple children is, as they all become young adults, you realize life isn't easy whether you're typical or neurotypical. Young adulthood is a very turbulent, very challenging time. And sometimes I watch my other children navigating it, and not saying they're not doing a beautiful job, they are. But I think, wow, there are some things that Tanner will be spared. There are, in some ways, his life is going to be much simpler. And honestly, a lot of difficulties that he will not deal with. He dealt with a lot more on the front end. I feel like there are some things that are going to just be a little easier. He's going to slide through with a little less chaos in certain seasons. So it's amazing how your perspective changes, because there were so many years when I did not have that perspective, where I just couldn't see the good in it at all. But now I really can. And I think that's what we all want. We want peace. We want to feel like there's purpose and there's peace in what we go through. And I promise there is.
And happiness for all of our children. But I agree.
Right.
And I think it also took kind of Tony coming into my life. And, Tony has 2 of his own kids. And, so we were kind of co-parenting a blended situation, but Tony would say more than once. We would look across our 6 children, because he has 2, Summer and Hunter, and he would say, Connor's the happiest one here. Out of these 6,
right. Oh yeah.
Or, teenagers kind of progressing their way through high school
right.
or young adulthood. He's like, Connor's the happiest guy around.
He's,
you know, if you
he's
just look
killing
at
it. Yeah.
But and then again, I think that is the gift of Connor, and the lens in this family is kind of don't sweat the small stuff, because guess what? Connor doesn't really now. You know, like you said, Nikki, and I think because we've had the blessing of going through and working through a lot of the tough sensory stuff that was so hard in the beginning, or challenges and language, receptive understanding stuff, and getting to where we needed to do academics. But now where the ante went up for my other kids, where they were breezing through, where Connor was struggling, Connor was just like, you know, his
the tide does turn.
was pretty low. Yeah.
Pretty low. I love it.
And so I think, like you said, I think it ebbs and flows. And I think, like you said, I think parenting as in general, full stop, is hard.
It is hard. It is hard. And we want to talk about it. We want to talk more about it, and we want to hear other people's stories about it. We hope they'll learn from us. We want to learn from them. And I'm just so excited. I can't wait to get into it.
I can't either. But I do have to say, I don't want to sound negative. It's the best job I ever signed up for. Because,
absolutely.
It makes me so happy to know. I say about my children, before I had my stepchildren, I'm like, they're the 4 legs to my table. I'm like, I am solid because I have 4 legs. And I to know that Connor will have such a support network one day when I'm not here. And also to know, I look at my aging parents now, and I look at my aging mother, and my sister and I are there at the drop of a hat. And I just think best gift in the world to me has been them. So it's not for the faint of heart, but man, it's the best thing.
It is. It really is. It's all worth it.
Excellent. Nikki, I don't know. I feel like we kind of killed it.
I think we did. It didn't feel too hard.
I mean, I don't know kind of how we're doing, but I feel like, for a first episode, I hope we gave you a little glimpse about kind of what this is, and who we are, and how and why we got here, and kind of, without defining it too much, where we want to go, and also kind of put it out there to you guys too. Would love some feedback on what do you want to hear us talk about, and who do you want us to talk to, and we'll do our best to make it happen.
I love it. I'm so excited.
Me too. I couldn't think of anyone better I'd want to be doing this with, Nikki.
Absolutely. There's a reason for all of this. We didn't meet each other. I saw you on screen, and I said, oh my gosh, she's so cute. We're going to be friends. I need to know her.
Well, it's so funny.
We're going to get along.
Honestly, when I saw Nikki on the screen, I'm like, she's a hot mom on the show.
Oh,
God, doing his hair, and you look like, I was like, look how hot she is.
Oh,
no,
Lord,
I was
that's so
absolutely.
funny. And now you know me. Yeah.
Oh, even better. She's better in person.
Oh my God, that's so good. Thank you.
Anyway, I'm so excited to be doing this.
Me too. Can't wait to get it started.
All right. Well, cool. I think some of the things, if I can, I don't know. It's, this is our podcast. We can say what we want. Like sneak peeks, like you said. I think we want to touch on, maybe have the boys on, Connor and Tanner.
Yes, for sure.
They're a hot ticket in town, so I hear.
Yes, they are. We need to get them on.
We need to get them on. We'll have to talk to their people. And then I think definitely sibling lens. Like I think there's a lot of value in that, especially for some of you younger families with other kids, older, younger. Look at these adult children. Let's hear from them on their experiences growing up with these men, and how it affected them positively and negatively. So we want to share our kids with you, so that you can get their lens. Now that they're all young adults. And then I think we were really excited about our spouses, right, Nikki? Maybe Mark, the guy who stayed in the foxhole and worked through. And then my husband, who signed up for this crazy job, punched his ticket,
jumped on and kept on coming.
So
absolutely. We have lots of ideas, but beyond that, I think we got some cool people in mind. Maybe kind of branch away from the world of autism as we move forward, and get some other stories, sit down and have a full stop conversation with some other people about other areas. But definitely going to start with the family and the autism and the parenting, and start from that lens and branch out.
And then we just want to be like cool conversations that you want to pop on when you get in your car and you got to go for a long car ride, or if you want to work from home with your coffee and you just want to hear a cool story with you know, two women who have been around the sun a few times. We want to be your
Here we are. Here we are.
Here we are. Anyway, well, I feel like that's great. And I have a little sign off that I love to say when I am signing off from Car Rides with Connor. I always tell everybody, I love you, mean it. And Nikki, I love you, mean it. So
I love you, mean it.
Excellent. Maybe until next time. Thank you for giving us a shot and tuning in.
That's right. Full stop. We're done.